For this lesson, we're going to deal with the imperfect verbs, or l'imparfait. Now, there are a few different verb tenses in French that deal with the past tense. L'imparfait is one of them, and you know another one already, le passé composé. Now, le passé composé has to do with actions that start and finish in the past. So I've got this little guy here, and hier, yesterday, he kicked a ball. So the kicking of the ball happened yesterday. It started and finished at the same time in the past. So passé composé expresses actions that start and finish in the past. The imparfait tense is a little bit different, and we'll get to its uses in a little bit. First, we'll deal with the construction. So for construction, you want to take the present tense vous form so that you can get your stem. So new conjugation form of the present tense. So this is where you have to remember the present tense form of all the verbs. So you take the new conjugation, you drop the ONS, and then you will add the ending. So you get the stem of the imparfait, and then you can add the ending. So a couple examples. First example, we'll start with parler, a nice ER verb. So with nous, it's nous parlons. We'll take off the ONS, and then your stem becomes par. Now this looks pretty simple with regular verbs, but it'll get a little bit trickier with irregular verbs later on. So our next example is finir, and with nous, it's nous finissons in the present tense, so we'll take off the ONS, just the ONS, and our stem is nous finissent. And then we add the ending later on, which I'll show you in a moment. And our last one is an RE verb. So nous attendons, attendre, take off only the ONS, and our stem becomes attendre. So we've got a regular ER verb, a regular IR verb, and a regular RE verb. For the endings, we have ion, ie, a. So there's a little cheer that Madame Clark came up with. AIS, AIS, AIT, EONS, EOZ, AIENT. I don't do it justice. She does it way better than I do. Okay, so you'll notice that with the je, tu, il, and il plural, they all sound the same. They make the A sound, but they do not look the same. So you're just going to have to remember how to spell them. Okay, so there are exceptions, as there always are in French, but these ones are actually really logical, and you can think your way through them as long as you know the rules. That's why it's one of my favorite verb tenses. So, most verbs that are exceptional or irregular in the present tense, especially with nous, follow the same pattern in the imperfect. Now that pattern is the conjugate with nous, take off the ONS, and add the ending. That's the pattern that we're talking about here. Okay? So, we will start with avoir as our first irregular verb. Now, it's not really that irregular, but if you remember the pattern with the nous and everything, you will be fine. So, nous in the present tense is avant, right? Take off the ONS, add your endings, so j'avais, AIS, tu avais, AIS, il avait, AIT, nous avions, vous aviez, and elle avait. Okay, now you'll notice that these two bear striking resemblance to their present tense counterparts. And the only difference is the I. Okay? So in the past tense, nous avions. In the present tense, nous avons. In the past tense, vous aviez. In the present tense, vous avez. Excuse my phantom I there. So please just make sure that you have that I and that you pronounce the I, otherwise we can't really tell if you're talking about in the present tense or the past tense. Commencer needs to start. And to start off with, we'll put it in the present tense with nous. So we've got comment sont. Now we'll take off the ONS and we will add the endings. So commencer, 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 running out of room. Commencer. Alrighty, now you might notice a little trend here with our CCD. That's what we call that accent. In English it's a cedilla, so city sounds a lot more proper. So we keep it whenever there's an A sound. The reason that we have it in the first place in nous is so that we have the son sound rather than the con sound. So for je commencer, if we didn't have the CCD there, it'd be commencer, and that changes the sound drastically. So for je, tu, il, and elle plural, you keep the CCD. For nous and vous, you don't need it anymore. I can spell my M's. It's harder when the words disappear. So you don't need them because you have an I following the C, and that continues to let the C be soft. So these two are irregular in the irregular. So if hopefully you can just remember why we have this ACD, and that will help you remember when to use it. So you need a CCD with A, that's why we always have sa too, and you do not need it with an I because it still makes the C sound. Okay, faire. Not exactly super duper irregular, not as bad as commencer, but it's normally irregular, so we'll just keep it in the irregular areas. So nous faisons, je faisais. So again, we're taking off the ONS and we're adding the endings. Tu faisais. I just like to jump the gun a little bit. Il faisait. And run out of room. Nous faisions. Make sure that I is there. Vous faisiez. Now, vous in the past tense does not quite look like its present tense form, but please make sure it's spelled properly. And then, vous faisiez. Sorry, elle faisait. Alright. Now, it has a similar exception to commencer. where it's all about the vowel sound. So for the present tense, we need to make sure that this G still keeps its same soft sound. So we're just going to keep the E with nu. So nu, mangeons. There's my little E there. And again, with these two, it's a little bit different. So, je mangeais. If I take off that O and S, manger. Tu mangeais. Il mangeait. Sorry, my writing is bigger than my font. And elle mangeait. Okay, so nous is mangions. Vous is mangiez. And the G, E keeps the G soft, but so does the G, I. If we had G, A, it would be ga, and that's not the verb we were looking for. So croire, croire, to believe. Now it's irregular in the present tense, but once you've got it, you got it. Croyons. So je croyais. Tu croyais. Il croyait. Nous croyons. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 vowels. Vous croyez. And elle croyait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lots of vowels in that one. To study, and this might be one of the ones you will have to especially study. So, in the present tense, nous étudions. Now you might be noticing that there's already an I there, and that seems a little funny, but just bear with me because we'll get there. So, take off that O and S. Get rid of that E so we don't have two vowels together. A, tu, D, E. A, tu, D, E. A, tu, D, E. Missed a letter. Nous. Now I'm going to go slow here. A, tu, D, on. A, tu, D, yay. And then somewhat back to normal. A, tu, D, E. Alright, so yes, you are seeing two I's back to back here. Now, that is not only to keep the rule as close as possible, but it also has a different pronunciation. So, étudiant, there's an extra emphasis on the ion rather than étudiant. Over here, there's just one I, so étudiant, 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 étudiant. Now, être is our last irregular. Être is always irregular. And this one doesn't really follow a pattern, so you don't even want to think about the new sums because that will just lead you astray. So don't even think about it. Now that I'm drawing attention to it, you're going to think about it. So your stem for this one is this. E.T. phone home with a weird stem and an accent. So je, j'étais. Regular endings. Tu étais, il était. Please don't say et, even though I gave you the et reference. Nous étions. Vous étiez. And elle était. Okay? So, yeah, you're just going to have to remember this nice little stem. But on the bright side, all of the endings are still the same. So, when to use this tense? I've already mentioned that it was a past tense. So, for the examples that I'm going to be listing down below, just in your mind, think past tense. Some of them say it, some of them don't necessarily. So, you use l'imparfait with habitual actions, so things that happened often in the past tense. You use it with actions without a specified duration of time. So remember the ball that was kicked, it started and ended in a pretty short span of time, but something that lasted a really long time and you're not actually sure when it ended, that would be used with the imparfait. Also, actions that may still be ongoing. So things that started in the past and are just going to keep going for who knows how long. Continuous actions in the past. So again, habitual action type idea. Things that happened in the past and happened often in the past and they just kept going perhaps. Like if you started dance over here and you didn't really stop but you kept going, that would be long duration of time, habitual actions, is all kind of rolled into one in that one. We also have emotional or physical conditions or states in the past. Just remember that one. I don't have a handy trick for that one. And then we also have descriptions. So if we have scenery, it doesn't start and stop. It has a whole ecosystem and lifespan around it, and it keeps going long after your story, and it started long before your story, so it's in the lovely imparfait. It's not perfect, but it works. See what I did there? Alright, now stay tuned for another installment of lovely lessons with Madame Brown, because I will tell you about I ran out of space. I will tell you about more in-depth ways and when to use the imparfait. Okay, so now for just a really quick recap, we learned the construction of imparfait. We learned a lot of exceptions. And we learned when to use. Just a brief overview. Now, for construction, we went through ER, IR, and RE. Those can be used for any regular verbs. Any regular verbs. Now, the C in commencer, the G in manger, and the IE in étudier, those ones can stand for all the verbs that end like that. So, lancer, partager. I can't think of another EA verb. And then the rest of the exceptions are their own exceptions. Okay, and the brief overview, we will be doing a longer overview later, so I'm not quite sure now. Don't worry, because we will do that again. Alright, this has been a happy recap from Madame Brown.